a Purple Rain podcast episode fit for a king. Welcome back. I just realized something. We need a new intro because like half of the players in the intro are all gone now. I saw Devin Duvernay, Patrick Queen, Marcus Peters, Josh Bynes. Yeah, it's time to update that son of a gun. Wow. Welcome back to episode 230 of the Purple Rain podcast. First and foremost, if you're new here, like what you're watching, like the video and subscribe if you are new. We appreciate it a lot and helps us out a ton. The likes get us shown, spread around on people's recommended, and that's really the best that can help out a YouTube channel. But you can follow us on Instagram at the Purple Rain Podcast. Follow this guy on Instagram, on X at Sutton Death. Follow me on Instagram at simplyas10.prod and on Twitter at simplyas10 or X, and then our sponsor, Manscaped. If you go in there, get yourself something nice, use code PRP. Look at him, freshly cleaned up. I mean, come on now. Who doesn't want to look like that? Use code PRP for 20% off your whole order and free shipping. It is episode 230, and it's crazy how things work out because the number 30 on the Ravens now is Trenton Simpson. So this is a Trenton Simpson episode. I'm sorry to Obafemi, Ian Badejo, Eugene Daniel, Kenneth Dixon, Terrence McGee, Bernard Pierce, Chris Westry, Jameel White, but this is a Trenton Simpson episode for obvious reasons. Next man up. But a lot has happened since we last talked. My heart's been broken once again. It's worse than the breakup. I've been trying to tell people, like, seeing Patrick Queen go to the Steelers is 100% worse than a breakup. It hurts. It hurts. No tears, but the pain is real. But Sutton, how are you doing on this Friday Eve?
I'm doing well. Earlier this week, obviously the big news, King Henry is in town. And, a couple hours later, we learned that Patrick Queen is out of town. And it was just a roller coaster of emotions. And all week it's kind of been like that. There's been a lot of changing hands, musical chairs of players in the AFC North. And it's been wild. Like, honestly, like I would have never seen this coming going into this off season, but nonetheless, I'm feeling good. Daylight savings time, the time sprung forward, so now the sun's going down later. It's getting warmer outside. Life just feels good right now. I'm feeling good. I'm happy, and I hope you guys are happy as well. We got to bring up everybody in the live chat. We got our guy Dre in the building. What's going on, Dre?
Come on, Dre.
We got Zach in here as well. What's going on, Zach? We got Mod K Dog in the house. My guy Mod K Dog giving a shout out to the Thursday. Yes, sir. We go live each and every Thursday. Listen, if this is your first time listening or watching this podcast, first of all, thank you. But we do go live every Monday and Thursday, even in the off season, because as we all know, as NFL fans, the league never sleeps, even in the off season, right? We got Mod Boz in the house, the Steelers fan himself. Says Mod Boz here early for the smoke. Welcome, Boz. And you know what, Boz? You're welcome. I'm going to say that. You're welcome. Y'all got a dog and our guy PQ. Just so crazy how things happen, man. We've been talking about PQ on this podcast for the past couple of years. He's been on the show. For those of you guys who don't know, Patrick Queen has literally been on this podcast multiple times. And for him to kind of change hands and be a Steeler now, it is insane to think about. But again, thank you guys for joining this episode of the show. Make sure you go ahead and give a like to this video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, like my guy Alex said. And yeah, you can go on manscaped.com, use that code PRP, save yourself 20%, plus get free international shipping. You can't really beat that, you know what I mean? Black Daniels giving a shout out. That's Mod Black Daniels to you. Black Daniels giving a shout out to the hashtag replay gang. Listen, if you're not watching live, right, and you're watching after the fact, you're part of the hashtag replay gang. Thank you so much for joining this episode. Make sure you leave a like, and if you're not watching live, maybe consider subscribing and joining our family that we like to call the Rain Gang. We'd appreciate that. Let me see what else we got here. We got Ryan in the house. We do need a wide receiver 2 to 3 replacement for OBJ. Oh yeah, that's more news as well. We got to get into. OBJ is out of town, so I mean we're right back in the market for another either veteran wide receiver or just just a good wide receiver. So we got a bunch to get into on this episode. Yeah, we got a bunch to get into on this episode. Boss says he's getting the number 6 Queen jersey. I don't blame you, man. I don't blame you.
Yeah.
He's a dog. Y'all got a dog there. But yeah, let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Can we, Alex?
Why not? Let's just remove the stake from my heart, or your heart too.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess we can just kind of go ahead and start with that, even though we kind of already touched on it a little bit. Patrick Queen is no longer a Raven. It was kind of like a foregone conclusion that we were going to have to end up moving him because of the money situation. We paid Roquan Smith a bunch of money about a year and a half ago or so. So we knew that eventually we were going to have to move on from PQ. And as much as it hurts to say, I do have I have a lot of hope for our future at that inside linebacker position in Trenton Simpson, because Trenton Simpson, he's a guy, out of Clemson. Most notably had a game against the Steelers last year. It was kind of like a garbage time in the season game, but nonetheless, he balled out. I'm talking about getting sacks, tackles for loss. He was just all over the place. You know what I mean? And I want to bring this up. I remember, I think I saw a tweet bringing up Ray Lewis's point about Trenton Simpson coming out of Clemson. He said that he's one of the best linebackers that he's seen coming out of college. Trenton Simpson is. And so that is very, very high praise, of course, from the GOAT linebacker, Ray 52 Lewis.
Yeah.
And that is, I just cannot wait to see what, Weaver and Roquan Smith is able to do with Trenton Simpson and kind of accelerating his growth. I would hope that his growth is accelerated. I'd hope that there's not as many growing pains with the guy, but we kind of have to expect a little bit because he didn't really get any full time as a starter, right? So, but I wanted to get your take, Alex, on the whole PQ situation. He is now a Steeler. What does this do to us? What does it do for the Steelers? What are your overall thoughts?
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought up Trent Simpson, because somebody actually, tweeted at PQ yesterday, and he said, they said, "Can you be honest with us? Do you think Trent Simpson will be legit?" Patrick Queen says, "Give him time to gel in with the league. He's going to be that guy." A lot of Ravens fans have high hopes for him, and I do too. But me personally, the linebackers that are still available, I did want us to get Willie Gay, who did sign with the Saints. I'm looking right now. I personally wouldn't hate if we looked at another former LSU linebacker in a Devin White. You wouldn't be paying a lot for him. His 5th year got rejected as well, but he did not have the year anywhere close Patrick Queen had. Had a down year. His best years, came with Levante David next to him. But last year he just wasn't good. If we're in a win now mode, I wouldn't hate it. But my only thing is, I wish we saw more of Trent Simpson last year. He wasn't getting snaps with the first team at all. And he was rookie, but Tavius Robinson I saw was out there a lot more than him. So I don't know if, the difference between him and PQ was that much and he wasn't able to see the field. That's a little worrying to me, but hopefully, he learns. But yeah, I do have high hopes for him, but at the same time, I wouldn't hate getting Devin White. And I haven't seen a lot of fans talk about it, but I just don't want us to have a PQ 2.0 and have a linebacker out there who may not be ready and then, gets a bad rep and has to, work his way back with the fans. But either way, we have Roquan Smith, a top 2 linebacker in the league and one. So hopefully whoever you put next to him won't have to have a hard time. But losing Patrick Queen to the Steelers does hurt a lot. He was with a purple team and now he goes to a yellow team, much like his LSU colors, purple and yellow. So it kind of makes sense in that perspective. But making 3 years, $41 million, don't get your money. Not mad at it. And Mike Tomlin had this. I don't know if you remember, Mike Tomlin called him the best linebacker in the North a couple years ago. Then said he wasn't a Ravens linebacker. He wasn't a real linebacker. Mike Tomlin has some nasty twerking going on for Queen. He had this planned, I feel like, because he was always bringing up his name, and now, he's on there with the Steelers. So I wish you the best of luck. like Lee said, I hope you have a great year, but I hope you go 0-17. That's how I feel.
I love it. I love it. No, I mean, you bring up a good point too, as well, talking about you hope that it's not like a PQ 2.0 situation because we know how Patrick Queen's career kind of started with the Ravens, and it was a little shaky, right? People had a lot of criticism for him when it came to him in coverage, when it came to him being able to finish tackles, things like that. So you hope that there's not the same kind of learning curve with a Trenton Simpson, but to be honest with you, as I'm sitting here talking and thinking about it with you, it's inevitable, right? It's because the linebacking position, the nature of the linebacking position, um, there's a lot of gray area, right? Because so you're right between the secondary and the line. Those two position groups, meaning the secondary and the line, your job is very, very clear cut, right? When you're right in the middle as a linebacker, there's a little bit of flux, right? There's a little bit of gray area. You kind of have to be able to do both. And being able to do that in this league with quarterbacks that are just mad talented, especially in the AFC, they can kind of torture linebackers, especially young linebackers. So, needless to say, there will be some sort of learning curve for Trenton Simpson. That's just natural. I know he's out of Clemson. I know he's highly touted by Ray Lewis, but there will be some growing pains. I'm fully prepared for that. I feel like we should all be fully prepared for that, right? But nonetheless, I do think that we got a guy who's going to be flying around the field. His energy is going to be infectious. He's going to feed off of Roquan Smith and Anthony Weaver, and new defensive coordinator. I'm excited to see what they all kind of put together. But I'm loving the fact that we have a guy. At least we have a guy. You know what I mean? At least there's not like a glaring hole there to where we feel the need to go out and maybe draft a guy high or trade for a guy or pay a guy big money at a free agency, because we get Trenton Simpson for cheap and there's not a lot of cap space to go around to begin with. So I'm happy that we have at least an option there, a viable option. Yeah.
That's a really good point. You look back a couple years ago, we had to sign guys like Josh Bynes and LJ Ford off the street before we drafted Patrick Queen. We had Patrick Onwuasor and Kenny Young.
Yeah.
So we were kind of in the trenches, and we had to get guys like Bynes and Ford who were damn good when they came in. So that is luxury, and that Week 18 game, I don't want to get too hype over it because it was meaningless, but the Steelers were playing for something, and Patrick Queen was the Mike linebacker that game, and Trent Simpson was the Will, and he had a couple of tackles for loss, blew up a couple of plays. So if that game is who he really is, then we're in for a bright future. But I just don't want there to be too many expectations for us to expect for him to put up the numbers Queen did last year because he had an All-Pro season. I'm not going to expect that from a guy in his second year who hasn't played that many meaningful snaps yet. But we're rooting for you, Trent Simpson. That's really all I got to say. Third round for a reason.
We are. Yeah, we are. We are like hell, man. And okay, so kind of moving on from Patrick Queen and the whole Trenton Simpson stepping into his position. Kind of the biggest news of the week, the news that we had been clamoring for all along. And geez, man. And here, real quick before we get into that, I see I'm getting corrected here by Tanja Bowman. I think I said Anthony Weaver as defensive coordinator. I think did I say Weaver? Yeah, I think I did. Sorry about that. Yeah, my bad, Zach Gore. My bad. But yeah, so Derrick Henry is officially a Baltimore Raven.
You called it. You called it. You called it.
We have been talking about it, man. Like out of all the options between Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs and all of that, right? Like for us to actually land Derrick Henry and for us to be, talking about it on these last couple of episodes on why it would be so beneficial to have a Derrick Henry, the king, on our team. That man, it kind of felt surreal when I got the news, right? But man, I'm still kind of at a loss for words if I'm being completely honest with you. King is literally in the north, exactly. Black Daniels.
Yeah.
My initial reaction to it was, I mean, what I've been saying all along. I mean, these defenses are in trouble, and Todd Monken, he really has his work cut out for him, and kind of deciphering a game plan between Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, and really putting defenses in a bind and a bunch of conflict when they don't know who's going to be getting the ball when we're running the football. I mean, just like the oh my gosh, man, the QB option plays and the read options are going to be completely just insane. And I know that there was a a tidbit about Derrick Henry saying that he does not like playing out of the shotgun, right?
Yeah.
He likes to be, and that it kind of makes sense because if you look at a lot of his big runs, it would come from, the quarterback being under center and him
Mm-hmm.
being lined up a good 8 yards behind him and him
Mm-hmm.
getting kind of like, a head of steam, getting the ball and kind of running through guys. In this
Yeah.
offense, it will be a little bit different. There's a lot more sleight of hand when it comes to this Ravens offense. So I'm glad we got this deal done early because him and Lamar Jackson can kind of, build that chemistry so we don't see the fumbling issues, right? Because there is a height difference between Derrick Henry and a lot of these other running backs that we've had. I don't really see a whole lot of people talking about that, but there's a height difference, right? Derrick Henry is, I believe, 6'4", right? That's taller than any running back Lamar Jackson has ever played with. So there's going to be there's going to be some chemistry to be built between those two. So I'm glad that they're together early, that maybe they can work out together in the off season, things like that. But yeah, I'm super happy that Derrick Henry is now a Raven. And one thing that I wanted to bring up, right, there was a tweet that I saw yesterday from Warren Sharp, known as Sharp Analytics, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was saying how basically having Derrick Henry on the Ravens is huge because he's a perfect fit because he wins against loaded boxes, right? In Tennessee, of course, he was the main primary weapon there, especially after the departure of AJ Brown. It's the reason why I think he led the league in attempts this past season, was second in rushing yards. But people know that Derrick Henry is going to get the football, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the difference is with the Ravens, it's like it could either be Derrick Henry, it could be Lamar Jackson, it could be Mark Andrews who's getting the ball. It could be hell Rashad Bateman, Zay Flowers. Like there's so many weapons and so many options on this Ravens offense. You cannot, in good faith, key in on a Derrick Henry. You just can't because there's too many other weapons. Will kill you in too many other ways. So that's what I wanted to bring up. If defenses choose to load the box on Derrick Henry in Baltimore, says Warren Sharp from Sharp Analytics, let me also bring up that Lamar Jackson is the best quarterback against loaded boxes. Last year, he was the best quarterback against loaded boxes. He was number one in EPA dropback percentage, number one in success rate, number three in completion rate, and number four in yards per attempt and with 9.1. So I just think when you factor that in, Todd Monken, he is going to, and Black Daniels hits the nail on the head here. The possibilities are endless, man. The possibilities are just absolutely endless. So I'm glad that we got the deal done early, so Todd Monken can kind of figure out a way to get this game plan ready for September. But what do you think?
Well, tell you what, I didn't think about the height difference. Black Daniels brought up Latavius Murray was 6'3". And I tell you what, I thought Latavius Murray was pretty damn good for when he was here. Thought he was underrated. I would have taken him back. I thought he really came into his own. But I just looked up, Gus was 6'1", JK 5'10". Keaton Mitchell, I think, even, shorter than JK. Wow. Yeah. When you put it like that, wow. And one thing about this line, I'm going to kind of talk about the line now. I feel like we're having a line overhaul to fit Todd Monken's offense because our line was, I think, made for a Greg Roman offense. Guys that could, swing a little bit bigger, but in this Monken offense, they need to be more athletic. And I think that's kind of the archetype we're going for now. And that's one thing I do like about DaCosta and Harbaugh. They mentioned it in the presser today is they want to build a good line. And I feel like there's going to build a line that can fit this offense, that can maybe give Lamar the extra half a second, trying to pass the ball. That can be the difference. Every millisecond counts when you're in the pocket back there, and maybe he's not running for his life as much. But one thing I do want to say about getting Derrick Henry, he's not washed at all. He put up 1,000 yards when he was the main focal point with a rookie quarterback and with a not good Ryan Tannehill. So everybody thought they were going to run with him. Going through his games last year, he was stopped a couple of times behind the line of scrimmage or at the line of scrimmage, but there's 8-9 guys in the box, and all he had to really worry about was DeAndre Hopkins out there when he was playing. When he wasn't on the field, well, probably give it to Henry. Everybody go to the ball. But this right now, like him and Lamar, and then when Keaton Mitchell gets back, and I'll be honest, I wouldn't hate if we re-signed Dalvin Cook because Keaton, it sounds like he won't be ready until maybe middle of the year. I would take him back. Him, Justice Hill, and Derrick Henry. Obviously not signed him for a lot of money, but we do need one more running back. Maybe it's a draft. Maybe if Dalvin's available after the draft, we can get him for cheap. But yeah, he's not washed. Thank you, Black Daniels. It's trash. It is jealousy, and I've been seeing it a lot. He wasn't washed before he was a Raven, but he's Raven. He's washed now. It makes you think. Yeah, man, I'm excited for this one. I did want Saquon, but we started seeing all these running backs go off the board. Swift went off the board. Saquon went off the board. And I'm like, all right, well, maybe we can get a Josh Jacobs. He goes to Green Bay. And then you see Zach Moss go to the Bengals. You see Tony Pollard go to the Titans. And then I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, it's us, the Cowboys, and the Texans. Then the Texans go and trade for Joe Mixon. I'm like, yeah, it's between us and the Cowboys. And the Cowboys weren't doing anything. So I wasn't as excited because I was expecting it. But best believe when I saw the Adam Schefter notification hit my phone, I was like, we got him. But yeah, I mean, it couldn't have went out any better. It sounds like he was our guy, and EC confirmed that we tried to trade for him last year. And I just want to give a little message to the owner. I'm glad you kept him because we save our picks. You guys went nowhere last year. You wasted a half year of his career, and we got him for nothing now. So we're paying him a contract. Didn't have to give you probably a second or a third for him. So thank you very much. We appreciate it. Now we're gonna take another Titan great, just like we did with Steve McNair, just like we did with Derek Mason, just like we did with Samari Roll, and now with Derrick Henry. So thank you very much, Tennessee. We truly appreciate it. And you still have no rings. Thank you.
Just had to throw that last little dig in there.
Sorry.
I love it.
1 yard short. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and look at this from Black Daniels. Now you're paying Calvin Ridley $92 million.
And you don't pay AJ Brown. He's 26 years old. You don't want to pay him $92 million, but you'll pay it to Calvin Ridley, who's approaching 30.
Man, let me see.
Sorry.
K-Dog says here, and we would not have used Derrick Henry either against the Chiefs. Now, see, here's where I disagree with you, K-Dog, and this is one of the main reasons why I wanted Derrick Henry in the fold as a Baltimore Raven, because I've said it before. I'm on record saying I feel like a move like this changes the offensive philosophy. I really do. I think that in situations like we had last year in the AFC Championship game, we lost faith in Gus Edwards running the ball. We didn't even really hardly know what Dalvin Cook was going to look like. He had that one good run against the Texans, but that was pretty much it, right? Of course, Keaton Mitchell wasn't there, and Justice Hill always kind of been like an accessory running back to the Ravens. But having a Derrick Henry in your backfield, having a 6'4", 250-pound like monster, who is known for wearing down defenses, breaking off big runs, getting that head of steam, stiff arming dudes to hell. It changes the mindset of coaches, right? Like, we have to give this guy a shot. You got to give Derrick Henry a shot. Like, if you don't, what did you pay for him for? You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of the same thing with like Odell Beckham Jr. We paid for him, so we had to go out there, and Lamar had to, kind of find ways to get him the football. And, Odell Beckham Jr. is somebody who we'll get to as well. Of course, he's out of town too. Let me see. K-Dog says, Sutton, that's Harbs. He loves getting out-coached by his teachers. Now, that is a fact. That's a fact. Okay? We've seen it time and time again. It's irritating, isn't it?
It is. And you feel like with Henry now, you got to use him. You got to give him his carries. And I say, got to give him his 15 carries. Jake can't ever hit 20 carries. I want to see Henry get his 20 carries. Yeah. There's a reason why you pay him this money. And then it just, everything about it just feels right. And we were talking about it last episode. We saw Flacco play with some damn good running backs. Lamar had the one good year with Mark Ingram. Gus was always reliable. JK, not so much. But now you bring a guy like Derrick Henry, who, NFL rushing leader, offensive player of the year, 2020. Like, this is by far the best running back that we've had, I'd say, since Ray Rice. I'm going to bring up the forbidden name, but I think it's the best one since. So Ingram was good, don't get me wrong, but Derrick Henry is just like, we saw it in 2019. Like, the first drive, we stopped him in that playoff game. We thought we had him under control, and then you let it blip, and he's gone for 75 yards and using Earl Thomas as a lead blocker.
Yeah. I mean, painful times. We do have our first super chat donation of the episode. This one's coming from Max Offit, making it rain with the 5-piece in the chat. Thank you so much, Max. We appreciate you, brother. It says, this got me wondering if things would be different if the trade went through. So he's talking about if we would have traded for Derrick Henry in the middle of last season before the trade deadline and took him into the playoffs instead of like a Dalvin Cook. Would the Ravens have ran the football more than 6 times with their running backs? What do you think?
Right. You got to think they would.
Yeah.
And that makes me wonder, like, kind of about Gus going to the Chargers, because Gus wasn't using the playoffs with Roman in the Bills game in 21 and in the Titans game in 2019 and the Bills game in 2020. I don't get it. If a name has to make you use them, then why do you have them? You know, Gus averaged over 4 a carry this year. Justice was doing his thing. I don't know. Even JK in 2020 was doing his thing. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And you know, one thing I will say is I'm excited to see how, of course, we have to see how the line shakes out, if we're going to draft some guys, if we're going to go ahead and pick up, or maybe trade for a guy, who knows? The line has to be a wall, right? Because the last thing I want to see is Derrick Henry getting cut down for 2 yards the majority of the time, 2-3 yards. Like, can't have that happen. We got Tyler Linderbaum going into his 3rd season. I think him and then whoever they put at that left guard and that right guard position is going to be absolutely crucial. Absolutely crucial, because we know Derrick Henry, he is a running back who can run through the tackles, between the tackles, and do it very, very effectively, right? I think he averaged 4.6 yards a carry last season. So if we can still maintain that number, which I think there might be a slight uptick in that, to be honest, just given the nature of and the danger of the Ravens offense. Like, you literally cannot just game plan to stop Derrick Henry. I don't want to use any profanity here tonight, at least not yet, until I get angry. There's a 2-time MVP at quarterback who is the best running quarterback of all time. And you can debate your mother on that one, because I'm not going back and forth with anybody on that anymore. He's the best running quarterback of all time. That is Lamar Jackson. You cannot, I repeat, you cannot key in on Derrick Henry. I don't care if he's the king. I don't care if he's 6'4", 250 pounds. If you try to key in on a Derrick Henry, we're going to kill you in so many other ways. And let me say this. This is going to create a lot of one-on-ones on the outside. It is. That box is going to be loaded. So I think year 2, Zay Flowers, yes, I'm coming around to not being upset at Zay Flowers for the AFC Championship game performance, even though he played well, had those mistakes. I was upset with him for a little bit. I'm not going to lie. But I think that year 2, Zay Flowers, with these one-on-one matchups that he's going to get, paired up with the Rashad Bateman, who is supposed to be getting the ball a whole lot more this upcoming season, right? Supposedly. He's going to see a lot of one-on-one matchups. He's been seeing one-on-one matchups. We just got to get him the damn football, This is going to open up the passing game, and that's something that I feel like a lot of people really are not talking about as of right now. It's just all about run game, run game, run game. But the pass game is why defenses aren't going to be allowed to just all willy-nilly stack the box on us, right? So it's literally going to be like a game of rock, paper, scissors. Pick your poison, right? Do you want rock? Do you want scissors? Do you want paper? Do you want Derrick Henry? Do you want Zay Flowers? Do you want Mark Andrews? Do you want Lamar Jackson out of the backfield? Which one do you want? Take your pick, But I think the main thing is, with a Derrick Henry, we can control the football game. Okay, we can control the football game. We know the defense is going to play well, right? They're going to keep teams under 20 to 23 points a game. That's just kind of natural. That's what we do as a defense. I know we're getting rid of Mike McDonald, but just the lineage of just defensive success, I don't think that's going to go away. Yes, there might be a little bit of regression without Mike McDonald, and I'm have to accept that. But I think that the ability to kind of lean on teams like we had when we had the heavy run style Greg Roman offense, which was working, we just didn't have the pass game at the time. Now we have the lean on you running game and the devastating passing game, right? And a 2-time MVP in the backfield. It just feels like all the stars are aligning for this offense to really be unstoppable and to be frustrating to face. Because imagine going out and being, let's say at halftime, you're down 10 points to the Ravens, and you know what you got to do to come back, but you're not going to be able to stop that run game. You're not going to be able to stop, just the pick your poison of Lamar Jackson or Derrick Henry or Keaton Mitchell, or say we resign a Dalvin Cook or whatever, right? Can't stop that. You're gonna get leaned on, right? And the clock is gonna be running. Your defense is gonna get tired. We're gonna continue to hit you over the top. Isaiah likely still exists. The possibilities are truly endless. And I really like what Black Daniel said earlier about that, man. But again, thank you so much for your super chat donation, Max. We appreciate that. Black Daniel's giving another shout out to the replay gang. Always got to show love to them. Mod Boz in the house. The moderators are here in full effect tonight.
Yes.
We love our
Yes.
moderators. Thank you so much. Keeping things, in tip-top shape in the chat. Mod Boz says, like the video. Yeah, if you have not yet already, leave a like, leave a little thumbs up on the video. We'd appreciate that. Helps us out a ton. Like my guy Alex said, it circulates our content around YouTube, which gets more viewers and more members to our family, like we like to call the Rain Gang. But Alex, just what else do you got on Derrick Henry, man?
And you saved yourself at the end because I was like, can I interest you in a year 3 Isaiah Likely? And then you hit him on the end. And I've seen, I'm not going to say there's been any actual reports to it, but there's been rumblings that, Jerry Jeudy got traded to the Browns, and there's his partner in crime over there in Denver, one Cortland Sutton. I hope we're calling because I can't imagine the ask is a lot. I believe he's on a contract, and I believe that the Broncos aren't going to be competing this year. I don't think they will. Their quarterback is Jarrett Stidham. So we could be calling them. Yeah. But now I want to go talk about the line. And we made a plethora of moves. I'm going to kind of run down them, what the Ravens did with their cap.
Okay.
But before I do that, there was a report that we were interested in Mike Onwenu, the guard from the Patriots, went back to them. A pretty damn good offensive guard, which it gives me hope. I don't doubt EBC. I know he has a plan for this line. I mean, there's a reason why he signed Lamar, and he's going to keep him upright. You don't give it a shitty line to a quarterback with $300 million or $270, however much he's making. But seeing that we had at least an interest in him and he got a lot of money, we're going after the right guys. So now I want to talk about the moves we made, and the first one was restructured Ronnie Stanley. I think me and you expected that. Cut Ty Spouser, expected that. So thank you to Ty Spouser for everything he did. Played in 9 games the past 2 years. I don't know. He had the phantom I word last year. And the year before that, I appreciate him for this one moment. Him recording the paper that said fire Greg Roman at the castle and put it on his Instagram story. I really appreciate that because that was one of the funniest moments, I think, in Ravens memory in the past couple of years.
Yeah.
And then another move we made was trading Morgan Moses to the Jets for a 4th round swap. So we move up 20 spots higher and a 6th round pick this year. Kind of surprised me. I wasn't expecting us to trade Morgan Moses because I think I was a pretty big fan of his. I thought he was pretty damn good. I know you liked him as well. But it does clear up cap. And it does look like, we're going a separate way with this line. So I want to get your reaction on the Morgan Moses trade because I'll tell you this. I was, shocked. Wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, I mean, I was taken aback by it as well. Like you said, Morgan Moses, he kind of felt like, for a while, he got beat a couple of times here and there, right? What tackle doesn't? But for the most part, he was kind of like a set it and forget it type of player on the line. Like you just kind of expected him to anchor down and do his job, and he did that for a vast majority of his tenure in Baltimore. But it definitely means that Eric DeCosta's got something up his sleeve, and I think that it's kind of I think it's kind of obvious now that we are going to draft an O lineman with that 1st round pick, just because of the sheer lack of bodies there, right? I don't think that we're going to go into the season fully relying on a Daniel Faalele or Ben Cleveland or there's going to be some shakeup there, and I think it comes in the draft primarily. But yeah, man, that Morgan Moses move just really, really surprised me. Really surprised me. But let me see what you guys are saying in here. I think I saw a comment from one of y'all. Zach says I look a little bit like Bateman. That's crazy. Come on, Zach.
That's Maybe if we put you out there at receiver, maybe you'll get the targets now. You'll get the separation. Maybe he throws it to you now.
I'm not the right Sutton for that. We want Cortland Sutton for that. Tanja Bowman says here, I want Cortland Sutton. The Broncos claim they're keeping him, but that could be talk.
Yeah.
Could be, Tanja, yeah.
I mean, you think about it, I feel like the Chargers have gotten better. You know, they released Mike Williams, but they're keeping Bosa and they're keeping Mack, who I really wanted them to get rid of Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack is the perfect Raven signing.
Oh, yes.
A guy up in his age, but he put together a hell of a year last year. I was praying they released him because I'm like, yeah, we're all over this. Like, Khalil Mack feels like a guy where he could be in the black and purple. He'd be, past his Raider and Bears prime, but he had a really good year last year, and I think he would really do some good things for us. And that really pissed me off that they reworked the contract. But I look at the AFC West and I look at the Broncos. I think right now it's them and the Raiders. I don't know what the Raiders are doing at quarterback. I do like some of the moves they've made. It's just who's your quarterback? Denver. If Cortland Sutton requests a trade out of there, you're gonna hold him hostage. I mean, I don't know what's going on with them, so I hope we're calling them. And Ravens Flag says EDC still needs to get to the O-line fast. Henry doesn't move the needle. He's 30 years old. I think he moves the needle a little bit, but you are right. He's not going to be able to run without an O-line. You can't have guys out there and he stopped behind the line and falls forward for a yard or two. And Ben Cleveland, I'm looking at you. This is your fourth year now. You were a third-round pick. What's going on? I think Patrick McCarry may become a starter. I don't really trust Daniel Falele. We've seen him come in. He doesn't look athletic enough. I'm no offensive lineman scout at all. But to me, he the way he's built, having him going up against T.J. Watt, Myles Garrett, Zadarius Smith, Trey Hendrickson, Alex Highsmith, those are just guys in our division. I haven't mentioned, we'll be playing guys, other teams this year. What NFC? We get the NFC East. So we're playing the Eagles, Cowboys. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of really, really good edge rushers around the league. I mean, you talk about in the NFC East. I mean, you got Micah Parsons. I'm thinking that even back in our conference, AFC, you got guys like Max Crosby. There's a lot of good edge rushers. You know what I mean? So I do agree with you, Raven. Yeah, I agree with you, Ravens Flock. I mean, EDC, he does need to address the O-line fast, but like I said, I think he goes heavy on it in the draft. I really, really do. And what it's looking like for receiver, which is what we can talk about next, because our guy Odell Beckham Jr. was released.
Yes.
Right. Odell Beckham Jr. was released. Morgan Moses was traded. But the thing is, though, you have to invest in that line before you invest heavily into another receiver. You have to, because the receiver will not work if the line is not good enough to protect Lamar Jackson to throw it to that receiver, right? I've always said it, the offensive line is the foundation of your offense, right? It's the foundation, just like the foundation of a house. Without the foundation, you can't do shit else. You can't.
Yep.
So it's just, and that's another good point K-Dog brings up. Andrew Voorhees is a question mark. You know what I mean? Has anybody gotten a read on him? What's the status on him? Have you heard anything?
I mean, it sounds like he'll be ready to go. He would have been a day 2 pick last year. Thank you for that, K-Dog. Yeah, and you're right. And whenever I think of, people bringing up a receiver in the O-line, I think of that meme from 2020, whenever it was, when it was the Jamar Chase or the Penei Sewell. It was Joe Burrow throwing a deep touchdown, and Sewell was protecting, or him getting sacked against Jamar Chase. And you know what? They made the Super Bowl that year. But how did their season end? On a 4th down, Jamar Chase was open, but they couldn't block long enough for Joe Burrow to throw it. And as much as I would like to get a guy like a Keon Coleman, A.D. Mitchell in the 1st round. I'll tell you what, if we draft an O-lineman, I'm trusting who we draft in the 1st round because our resume looks good. K-Dog says it there. Ravens usually always draft good O-linemen. Most recently in the 1st round, Linderbaum.
Yeah.
Drafted in Uganda. Ben Grubbs, solid when he was here. Like, I trust us drafting guys. We've turned guys. We've gotten them paid. Hell, We got Ricky Wagner paid. We got John Simpson paid 2 years, 18 mil. We make linemen look good. We can take a guy off the street and probably make them play solid. I do trust us with that. But yeah, if we draft a lineman in the first round, I will not be sitting here and be like, oh, well, I'm mad. No. Hell yeah. Protect your investment. I'm off for it.
Yeah, I mean, because we're hardcore fans, you know. I mean, we understand that, you know, eating your vegetables is more important than eating the cake, right? Like you
Yep.
gotta have that offensive line first, and you know everything else kind of comes after that. Everything else follows. To a casual fan, it's like, yeah, let's go ahead and get the best wide receiver available at that pick, no matter what. And it's like, you know, that meme that you just brought up, that kind of comes into play. So man, I'm very, very excited for this upcoming draft because I feel like there's a lot of obvious moves that I know we need to make, but if we can stockpile, you know, a solid two lineman, I think like a very solid two lineman, I think that we will be okay. Now, kind of getting to Odo Beckham Jr., right, who was
Yep.
released today. We kind of knew that we weren't going to be bringing him back for a second year. Let's just kind of look in
Yeah.
hindsight over, you know, what
Okay.
he was able to do with the Ravens this past year in 2023. I can start. Um, I kind of saw this coming. I saw this coming because I mentioned it as soon as we picked him up. I'm like, you know, why would we go out and pick up an aging receiver who is coming off of two knee I words, right? And obviously his best football is behind him. Not to say that he's not still good. He had a good run with the Rams, and he did a couple of good things with us, you know, with the Ravens. But 35 catches for 565 yards and only three touchdowns, that is just not going to cut it for, you know, what do you get, 18 mil out of us or something like that?
Yep.
18
Yep.
million dollars out of us. And that's like wide receiver two type of money. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the way we paid him. And we just did not get any return on that investment, or at least not nearly enough return on that investment, you know. So I think the best thing that we got out of him was kind of just like the veteran savvy at times, you know, him drawing the penalties, the pass interferences, things like that. Because Lamar was trying to feed him the ball. Lamar was trying to
Mhm.
feed him, but I just don't think that the chemistry was there. And I said this earlier in a short today. Guys like Odell Beckham Jr. and Rashad Bateman, who are going to route up their defender and kind of rely on these timing routes, I don't think that kind of works the best with the style of quarterback that we have. Lamar Jackson, he's known to be a scramble around, backyard football, kind of just make shit happen as it goes
Yeah.
quarterback, you know, and that's why he's taken such a liking to Zay Flowers so quickly. That's why Hollywood Brown was so good with him, right? Because
Yeah.
those were guys who, yeah, they could run their routes and they could do it just as crisp as the other guys, but if they didn't get the ball immediately, they were coming back to the ball, they were scrambling around, you know what I mean? And I find that like the smaller guys tend to do that a little bit better. When you have guys like again like Odell Beckham Jr. and Rashad Bateman, they know they're getting open and they know when they're getting open, they know where they're going to be open, right? But it's just like when they don't get the ball, it's like they're kind of like, well, what the hell? You know, I did my job, I did my part, and not to say that they were like whining or complaining or anything like that. I just don't think that the style of that type of receiver necessarily fits the best with our offense. Not to say that it can't work, because we still have a Rashad Bateman, and we've seen what he's been able to do when he is given the football, when he's targeted. But you know, it just didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me from jump. But in hindsight, I want to get your perspective on what OBJ
Yeah.
did for us. Did you like, love, or hate it? What are you thinking about the whole OBJ experience?
We're gonna disagree here. I still love it to this day. It did a couple of things. It showed to Lamar that we will pay money for a receiver. Um, it brought us a whole new type of fan base, I'd say. Um, he's the most followed football player, NFL player in the league by far. Um, I saw a lot of number 3 jerseys, and I was at a like it. And so I was on the Baltimore Banner, and I read this, and this is from their article written by Jonas Schaefer. Um, Beckham was held to just 4 catches for 34 yards in the playoffs, but he graded out as the NFL's number 24 wide receiver overall in 2023, according to the receiver tracking metrics, which evaluate players' ability to get open, create yardage after the catch, and make contested catches. Um, he was also perhaps unlucky not to have a better debut year with Lamar. According to True Media, 25% of his targets were considered off target, one of the NFL's highest rates. Um, The chemistry obviously wasn't there all the way. Obviously had to overpay for him. It sucks that it could have didn't work out as much, but what I look at it now, like it was a 4th and 2 in the AFC Championship game, and we went to him backed up in our own half, and he caught it, and he got the first down. That game could have went different in this hindsight, but he was there in clutch situations. He made plays on the end of the season. We don't win that Rams game without him, which was the game of the year. You were there, you saw it. He made plays that we asked him to. Obviously, I don't like how much money. $2.8 million dead cap this year, $8 million dead cap next year. But we knew what it was from the jump, and I'm not mad. Sure, take it all. At the same time, I'm just happy I got to see one of my favorite players play for my favorite team in the black and purple. So I don't hate it at all. But I wish it was better, and he still finished second in the team in receiving yards, even missing a couple of games. So I don't know what we do now with receivers, but I hope he goes somewhere, gets a nice contract. I'm not going to roll him coming back here out because I think all options are open. DeCasso's saying they're still in contact, so I don't know what that means, but it's more likely than not he won't be back here. It was fun having number 3 on the team. Couldn't be the Taylor Swift curse or the Taylor Swift, whatever that was. But yeah, thank you, Odell. Thank you.
Yeah, and what we do know is he's going to play football somewhere for somebody this upcoming season. Just hopefully it's not the Chiefs, right? That's all I ask.
Yeah,
just don't
or
go
the
to
Jets.
Kansas
Honestly,
City.
I don't.
Yeah.
For his own health, I don't want him to play in turf.
Right. Let me see what you guys are saying here. Dre says unpopular opinion, but I want Odell back. I don't know if he can stay healthy, but I would like to see him used more. And see, like my thing is, what John Harbaugh said at the postseason press conference. We want to get Rashad Bateman more involved. Rashad Bateman to me is still the guy that you need to put more of a focus on. I mean, the guy is so talented. You were just talking about the wide receiver metrics. I'd love to know where Rashad Bateman kind of ranked in there in terms of getting open, things like that. I mean, we know for a fact, we brought it up on prior episodes, Rashad Bateman was getting open like it was nobody's business last season. You know what I mean? Like at a higher clip than most receivers in this league. That's a fact. And we can look that up. But he just wasn't getting the looks, man. He just wasn't getting the looks. Like he was so far down on the totem pole of just priorities of receivers to get the ball to. I mean, you had Odell Beckham Jr. and then you had the sensational rookie Zay Flowers, who everybody was expecting to do big things, and he did. And then you have a Mark Andrews, and then Isaiah Likely was showing out. So Rashad Bateman kind of got lost in the sauce a little bit, and the hope is for me, that him and Lamar Jackson can continue to just keep grinding and keep getting building that chemistry between each other, because that's the connection right there. If those two can hit it off, and if those two can kind of get in a stride, get into a rhythm, that is going to be dangerous. It's going to be dangerous, especially, like I said, he's going to have the one-on-one matchups, even without an Odell Beckham Jr. Even if we don't bring in another receiver, right? He's going to have those one-on-one matchups just because of what our backfield looks like with Lamar Jackson and a Derrick Henry threatening to run the ball all down your throat. So it's another year prime for Rashad Bateman. He stayed healthy this past season. Can't ask for much more than that. So I want to see those two boys go down to Florida, Bateman and Lamar, and really just get after it, because that is somebody we need to produce on this offense.
Yeah. Can't agree with you more there. I'm trying to look at the chart now and try to get your answer for Rashad Bateman. So I'll try to have an answer for the show, because I'm interested in that now as well.
Yeah. Killer Cam says Bateman was the 3rd to 4th option. Yeah, and it's like he needs to be at the lowest, the 2nd option. You know what I mean? And I'm kind of forgetting about Mark Andrews here, who of course is Lamar Jackson's security blanket, always has been throughout his career. Definitely want to continue to see him get his targets, get his touches. But Bateman, man, I just think that the potential. I mean, like, the guy's got the speed, he's got the route running, he's got the hands. Like, give him some confidence. If you give that guy some confidence, right, week in and week out, he could be one of the best receivers in this league. And I don't think that's a hot take at all. If you watch the Ravens, if you've seen Rashad Bateman play, if you look at the facts, that you're looking up right now, this guy, it would hurt me. It would hurt me to my core to see Rashad Bateman walk out of Baltimore, go to another team, and be a legit wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2. It would hurt me because I know that's exactly what would happen. That's exactly what would happen. Let me see.
I have your answer.
Killer Cam says he body catches too much. You got to get him more in a rhythm, man. That's my thing. Get him more in a rhythm. Get him used to getting the ball thrown his way. Go ahead, bro.
58th. And if we're gonna, as for getting open, he was number 31.
Bro.
So he was ahead of the likes of, he was the same or ahead of guys like Rashee Rice, Jerry Jeudy, Calvin Ridley, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamar Chase, guys like that he was ahead of and getting open.
Yeah.
So man, I'll be happy to send this link to anybody. I'm actually having fun on it. Yeah, and I just kind of, the number 1 receiver for getting open was Keenan Allen last year, a grade of 91.
Oof.
So
yeah, he's tough. He's tough.
Yeah, but hearing the guys that he is ahead of for getting open, Amon-Ra, Jamar, it definitely gives me hope.
Yeah.
And he had drops last year, which definitely I think had to affect his mental. But I love to see these guys, get all together, get that chemistry, and then just have a hell of a year together. So I hope they do that. I have faith they'll do that. But yeah.
And maybe the issue is that there are a lot of weapons on this offense, and Todd Monken was in his first season as offensive coordinator, so it was kind of installing the new offense on this Ravens team in real time, last year. So now that he's had a full season to kind of, put it together, he's going to have a full off season to put it together again. I think that this offense will be a lot more refined next year, and we'll see a result of that being Rashad Bateman being a lot more involved. And that's just my hope. But I think that can actually come to fruition, especially given the time that Monken has. And, based off of what Harbaugh was saying, I don't think he was lying at the Liars Luncheon when he said that piece about Rashad Bateman. Like, if I'm Harbaugh, I'm going and having a meeting with Todd Monken and say, hey, look, how can we get this guy more involved? Right? Because it's coming up where it's like a put up or shut up year when it comes to Rashad Bateman. It's either he's going to perform and we keep him, or we're going to continue to underutilize him and we ship him off somewhere else where we know he's going to produce on at the very least, a wide receiver 2 level, because he's a talented dude. He's a talented dude, man. I mean, I'm just saying, if you don't think he is, that's on you. But you can look at the facts that Alex just brought up. You can go back and watch the tape. Dude was getting open. Yeah, he had his drops here and there, but you got to get guys in the rhythm, man. If guys are only getting the ball, maybe if they're only getting targeted 2-3 times a game, it's what can you really expect, man? Even from these professionals, man, you got to get these guys in the rhythm, and especially with wide receivers, man, because so much has to go right for a receiver to get the football.
Yeah, and I just want to go on here and this analytics, and I'm just gonna throw this information out there. They grade guys by them getting open, their catch, and their yak, and they have the overall. So here's the top 10 wide receivers based by ESPN Analytics last year. So I'm going from 1 to 10. Brandon Ayuk, AJ Brown, Nico Collins, DJ Moore, CeeDee Lamb, Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, Keenan Allen, Nathaniel Tankdell, and at number 10, Zay Flowers. They had Zay Flowers graded as a number 10 wide receiver last year in the all of NFL, according to ESPN Analytics.
Interesting.
On all three things
that's another
based.
one. Year 2 Zay Flowers, man. That is going to be something to watch out for. Okay. I just got something. You know what? Drop your questions down below in the chat. Drop your questions right here, right now. If you're not watching live, again, thank you so much and hello. Make sure you drop your questions down below in the comment section. I'm going to kick it off with a question for you, though.
Okay.
Question for you and the Rain Gang. I've been seeing a lot of talk on Twitter this week about Ravens fans wanting Marquise Hollywood Brown back in Baltimore. And I made a tweet yesterday. I'm kind of getting a headache just thinking about it, but I made a tweet yesterday, and I said, do y'all not think that having Hollywood Brown and Zay Flowers on the same offense it's a little redundant because I think it is. I think it's a little redundant, and you guys know why. I've been saying it year after year. We need the big body possession receiver to really complement the smaller archetype receiver that
Yeah,
we have in a Zay Flowers or like we had in Hollywood Brown. But
yeah.
I want to get your take on that because Engraven actually responded to me on that on Twitter. He said that no, like I'd love to have Hollywood Brown back and him and Zay Flowers and whatever other receiver we get, they can all coexist in a happy family or something like that. He said something like that. But I disagree vehemently with him. What do you think though?
I think it'd be cool to have him back. I don't see the point of it. I really don't. Um, I know there are two different types of receivers. I know height wise, they might be similar, but I know they're not the same. And we talked about this last year. But I do agree with you. It is a little bit redundant because I know, that Killer Cam Lamar doesn't throw 50-50 balls. Yeah, you're right. But I think we have to start doing it. I think if you have a big body guy, you have to use them. And he threw one up to Odell last year and it got picked off by Joey Porter Jr. So what's wrong with him? Just in the worst time possible. Yeah, I mean, there's gonna be a point where like you have to get a bigger guy, and our bigger guys are our tight ends. So I'm with you. If we're gonna spend that money, I'll be honest. I'd rather get a lineman than give it to him. I'd love to see him back in the number 5. I think it'd be really really cool. I just don't see the point. So I am rocking with you on this one. I know we like our speedsters, but the best part about Hollywood was his deep ball tracking. He could track them. I wouldn't hate if we got a deep ball tracker in day 2 or day 3, and then maybe get a bigger body. But I just don't see it. I don't see it. Yeah, I don't see it.
Yeah. A couple of you guys sounding off here in the chat. Tanja Bowman says Lamar likes speedsters. Let me see. I heard somebody else say. K-Dog says Hollywood burned that bridge when he requested the trade. Maybe so. Maybe Eric DeCosta's kind of over that. Let me see. Tanja Bowman says 2 speedsters on the field would be hard to stop, even though I do want a bigger body. Yeah, man. I just think that, like you mentioned it earlier, 4th and 2, back up against the wall, right? We go to an Odell Beckham Jr. We need a guy like that. AJ Brown type, DK Metcalf type. Just you need a guy to box out and go get that football when the going gets tough, when it's ugly, when you can't really rely on a route to develop like that down the field. That's where you need those big body possession receivers, and those type of moments, those type of situations come up often, especially in the playoffs when teams are so dialed in on not letting you get the big playoff.
I don't know how much Hollywood's asking for. Cortland Sutton is 6'4", and he has a $17 million cap hit for the next 2 years. I don't want to pocket watch anybody. I feel like, Hollywood would probably be getting closer to 13 million a year, I believe. I think he's a better receiver than Gabe Davis. He got 3 years, 39 million, or he's on the same level. I think that's a fair contract. Once again, I don't want to pocket watch anybody. I'd rather us maybe give up a pick or something for 6'4" Cortland Sutton.
I mean, I'm right there with you. I am right there with you. Okay, let's go ahead and get into some of y'all's questions here. Black Daniel says this is a Spider-Man meme. I love that. Shout out to Black Daniels, man. We rock with you, bro. Let me see. Mod Boz in the house says Ravens trade for Debo. So this was another kind of rumor that was swirling around X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, the internet in the past couple of days. How are you feeling about Debo Samuel, or at least the potential of Debo Samuel being a Raven?
I was big on this in 2022, so 2 years ago, at the same time frame. Mm-hmm. I just don't see it happening now. He's missed a good amount of games since that big contract. We have Derrick Henry now, so the whole wide back stuff wouldn't even really be happening. And he mainly, runs slants. If I wanted a guy who could run slants and get hurt, I get Michael Thomas. No disrespect. I still love Deebo Samuel. He's still one of my favorite guys to watch. I love what he did to the Eagles last year. Absolutely tore them apart.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But just for that price, I just don't see it happening. And yeah, I don't see it happening at all. And I think he's gonna fit best in the Kyle Shanahan offense. Yeah. No, thank you.
Yeah,
I love
I agree.
Deebo. Wearing that one's gonna be cool, but just not here.
Yeah, I definitely think he works a lot better as a gadget type of guy. And the thing with our offense, we kind of have all the pieces that we need to not necessarily need a gadget guy, especially with the addition of Derrick Henry. I think that literally the only piece we're missing is, the big body possession wide receiver. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. So, I never really was of the school of thought that Debo, you know, should be a Raven or we should be clamoring for a Debo Samuel. Even though, again, I mean, the dude is a dog. He's got the dog in him. You know what I mean? We saw that again
Yes.
against the Eagles last year when he tore through them like tissue paper, like just with ease. Um, but yeah, to me, I don't necessarily subscribe to us clamoring for Debo Samuel. Okay, let me see what else you guys are saying here. Drop some more questions down low. What's going on? You have something for us?
I see now Boss saying I should go to Pittsburgh and be with his father, Mike Tomlin, because there was the meme that Ayuk looks like a younger Mike Tomlin. That is pretty funny, Boss. Not gonna lie. But you
Now
have
that you
Pickens. You
mention it,
have that. I mean, that would be pretty solid. Just who's the quarterback?
yeah.
So I'm gonna say I'm still under the 6.5 weeks where George Pickens is playing future in that locker room. All right, and something's gonna happen. All right, letting you know, March Madness will be played after a loss. Black Daniels, ask us serious thoughts on Mike Williams, receiver from the Chargers. I know you're a fan of him. I know you've been a fan of
Yeah,
him.
fan is a
How would you
little
feel?
bit of a stretch, maybe. Uh,
I'm
I
sorry.
wouldn't.
I thought maybe you had him in fantasy. Maybe that's why I thought that. I feel like you had him in fantasy a
May
year.
Something like that. I mean, I like Mike Williams. I mean, I think that when you talk about a big body, 50-50 ball, go up and get it type of receiver, that is Mike Williams. Don't get me wrong. Like, don't get it twisted. He is that dude. But you know what they say, and I'm probably beating a dead horse here. The best ability is what? Availability. And like he's just not typically available. Like that's just what it comes down to. Um, I can recount over the past what 2, 3, 4 seasons. He's been dealing with something. A lot of times he's out for the year. It starts out as he's out for 4 or 5 games, and he ends up not finishing the season. And it's just like that's not something that we necessarily need on this offense because the Ravens are going to make the postseason. Like, of course, fingers crossed for next year. Don't want to jinx anything, right?
Yeah.
But we're probably going to make the postseason, and nowadays we're kind of primed for these deep playoff runs. So, can he really stay healthy? For the same reasons why I was skeptical about bringing in an OBJ last year, I would for damn sure be skeptical about bringing in a
Yeah.
Mike Williams. Yeah.
Yeah.
So no.
So I'm on draftsharks.com and they have his I word guide. His chance of I word in 2024 is 80%.
Jeez. My God.
Projected games missed in 2024, 2.4. They have his I word history. 2023 knee ACL tear, 2022 ankle sprain and unspecified pulled hamstring. October 2022 high ankle sprain grade 3. 2020 lower back sprain. 2020 hamstring strain. 2020 AC joint shoulder sprain. 2019 back spasms. And then 2015 he had a cervical neck fracture at Clemson. He's a hell of a ball player. Hell of a player. We've just been on the wrong side of those I words for way too long, and it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And you were playing
That
in
ain't
LA
it.
your whole career. You come over here, have fun in a December or even our playoff game. It was touching negative wind chill in that game against the Texans. So have fun when you hit the ground, and that is rock solid. No, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, thank you for me either. Appreciate that question. Let me see. K Dog says, if you are new and you're enjoying the content, first, thanks for joining us. Absolutely. Second, please consider subscribing. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I think we're gonna go ahead and leave it there for the question segment and this episode of the Purple Rain podcast, as we're over an hour in. This has been episode 230 of the show. Make sure you leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel as well. But make sure, more importantly, you follow us on Instagram at the Purple Rain Podcast. You can follow me on X or Twitter or Instagram, whatever you got, at Sutton Death. And you can follow my guy Simply AS10 on Twitter at Simply AS10, on Instagram at simplyas10.prod, and you can pretty much just Google Simply AS10 and a bunch of crap is going to pop up, and you'll be able to go through his whole catalog of everything he does, which is a lot. Again, we want to appreciate all of you guys for rocking out with us, especially in the off season. We know that there's no football, no actual games being played, but you guys are real. We still got over 80 people watching live right now, which is
Wow.
huge.
Thank you.
That's huge. You know what I mean? Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you're just getting in here and you missed most of the episode, go ahead and hit that little rewind button, right? Because we talked about a lot of good stuff in this episode. Yeah, we love you guys. Hit the like on the way out, like Black Daniel says here. And with that being said,
Boz, that's uncalled for, Boz. That's really uncalled for. The final two emojis in this, you're not slick. You're not slick. You're not slick, Boz.
Oh, Boz.
Screw you.
Screw you. The battles
buddy.
will be epic. I'll be in so much conflict.
You're dead to me.
Patrick Queen is making plays.
You're dead to us.
Oh my gosh, Lamar's been having fun with that one too. That's funny.
I'm sorry to cut you off.
But no, I'm gonna be in so much conflict when Patrick Queen is making plays against the Ravens. I'm gonna be happy for him, but I'm also gonna be like, you're dead to us. You know what I mean? Yeah. But yeah, just again, shout out to Patrick Queen. He balled out with us. Had a prove it year this year. He proved it, and now he's getting his money. We're happy for him. But like I said, again, with that being said, I'm gonna let my guy Alex take us out.
Boz, you're dead to me, and you're dead to the Rain Gang. Thank you, Tiki Barber out. That's in my vocabulary now. You're dead to me. Thank you all for coming to episode 230 of the Purple Rain podcast. Appreciate your time as always. Draft season is right around the corner. Mock drafts, we're gonna have to get our heads in the books for that. And that there's going to be more signings on the way for the Ravens. This is just wave one. They do a lot of their cooking wave 2, wave 3, and throughout the summer. So thank you all for sticking with us. We appreciate you. And as always, stay positive, test negative.
Yeah, and never, ever, ever forget, even on the rainiest of days, to call God. It's been episode 230 of the Purple Rain Podcast. We're going to catch you guys in the next one.